So you can see that guy there just on the ground here. In case you're listening to this on audio, you basically just have a guy that's buying some fruit in a grocery store next to some people. And then it looks like his pocket explodes. Presumably he had a pager in his bag and it completely exploded. And there were kids in the area. You see people obviously trying to protect the children, not sure what exactly it is that is happening. So you can imagine that took place about 3,000 times all across the country, which led to tons of confusion, a lot of people being rushed to the emergency room. Also, what we're finding out is that it wasn't just contained to injuries of people that were Lebanese, but Iran's ambassador to Lebanon, a man named Motaba Amini, lost one eye and severely injured his other eye when the pager that he was carrying exploded in a simultaneous wave of blasts. Now, it is, as I said, believed that they were able to intercept these pages somewhere in the supply chain before Hezbollah got to them and rigged them. It's being alleged that they thought they were buying these Taiwan-based gold Apollo pagers, but what actually happened was there was a Hungary-based consulting firm that somehow got involved and they licensed the technology. So they were able to put the name of the technology. So they were purporting to be selling this product, but it wasn't actually Taiwanese based. And people have been calling the person that allegedly was supposed to be running that company in Hungary, and she has not been picking up the phone. So it's very likely that this was some sort of a Mossad front, which, by the way, as far as intelligence agencies goes, this was a pretty clever operation. And you can imagine that it is sending a shiver down a lot of people's spines today. You would think that the first thing that the media in the West would be asking is, are we vulnerable to this sort of an attack? That should have been the first question. I was very surprised to see people, what, yay, amazing, go, go, go. And I really do believe, and I tweeted this, that Americans, we have suffered from privilege, which is to say that because we don't have any memory of fighting a war on our soil, we just don't think it could ever happen here. And so we speak about war like it's a football game overseas. Right? Like we're just literally rooting for one side or rooting for the other. We don't think about the severe ramifications. We don't think about the fact, okay, well, what if we're at war with Israel? That's why I hate when people say the stupid statement like they'll forever be our friend and ally. You should never say this about any country. If you are a sovereign nation, you can never make the claim that any country, whether it is the UK, whether it is any of the countries that we have been from, France, I would never say France will forever be our friend and ally. That's a foolish statement to make if you are a sovereign nation, because the reality is that any country can become a foreign adversary. And we are looking at a type of attack that we haven't seen before, right? We're talking about interrupting a supply chain and causing technological devices to explode. And it didn't just end, by the way. It's still ongoing. It wasn't just yesterday that this took place. On Wednesday, they caused walkie-talkies to also explode across Lebanon, detonating a fresh wave of explosions across the country. Now, preliminary information suggests that there were between 15 and 20 explosions in the southern suburbs of Beirut, and a further 15 to 20 blasts in southern Lebanon. And one of these explosions took place at a funeral. Now, the walkie-talkies, and again, a lot of this information is coming out today. We're learning all of this today. Apparently a more controversial attack because these walkie-talkies were available to a much wider net of people. And a lot of the people who faced these explosions were just civil workers, people that were employed ambulance workers who also tended to Hezbollah members. More will come out in the future. So I think this is one of those cases where it doesn't pay to be the first one to comment on it. Again, we will receive more information as time goes on. Now, the U.S. is saying that they have absolutely no idea anything about this attack. They had no indication it was going to take place. Anthony Blinken said as much. And I just find that to be incredible. I just don't see how you can send billions and billions of dollars to a country and be supplying them the money to do these sorts of things, and then be able at the same time to completely detach yourself from whatever it is that country is doing. But we see that over and over again when it comes to the special relationship between America and Israel. And taking it a step further, by the way, several solar power systems also exploded in people's homes across Lebanon. And that's at least according to the National News Agency. So we are talking about a full tech attack that is going on. And people are asking the question, is this fair? Is this fair, or are we seeing a new kind of a terrorist attack that is laying the groundwork for future attacks that we had never considered? Like, are we vulnerable with our iPhones? Before an adversary wants to attack our iPhones, can they interrupt the supply chain and put explosive devices in them? These are now meaningful questions. Like I said, if we had a Western media that was actually interested in protecting the people in Western society, like the American journalists, it seems to me, never think about these things more broadly. And I guess I have an apocalyptic mindset. And when I see that, I just go, can this happen here? And the answer obviously is yes, this could in fact happen here. The reactions, I want to be very clear. I was completely sickened. I really do believe that there is a strand of people that have become so radicalized by Zionism that they literally just applaud death. I cannot comprehend, even if you meaningfully believe that this is an appropriate targeted surgical response to the rockets that Hezbollah was sending to northern Israel, which they have been sending rockets to northern Israel since October 7th, to mock and laugh at a situation where you know that innocent civilians were caught up in, like that children died, to me is just so far beyond the pale. It's hard for me to comprehend that sort of a reaction. And so we saw that across social media, and there were child victims. One was a 9-year-old named Fatima Abdullah. She had her funeral yesterday. It was a lot of her school friends which gathered to mourn the 9-year-old. And that is something to remember. Like I said, we are so far removed from war here that we speak about it like we're playing a video game. And that sort of a thing needs to actually stop.
First of all, what's happened to Ezbollah is really terrible. It's really scary. And second, you don't want to mess with countries like Israel. Of course, this war has been going on for years, ever since, man. I don't know how it's going to stop. I don't know if all the countries have to come together to strike a peace deal and to help. And they're not, so many countries are not helping. Like, I know Israel and US have been friends for a very long time. But it's time for the US as a superpower to initiate some kind of negotiation for a peace settlement. And that would be great for the whole world, because it's really scary. Can you imagine if, like now, this is what happened? We understand that Israel intercepted the supply where apparently where Ezbollah purchases these pagers. And they set up like they're the suppliers with a second person or a third party. It's like they thought they were buying it from a certain place. Then they camouflaged as the suppliers of the genuine thing, but they had already put the designators inside. So the Hezbollah just bought the pages, thinking it's the safest thing, because there, I understand, they don't use phone. They use these pages because they're safer. So you can imagine such a war, with the concept of, if we think of this concept of this is the kind of new world order, and it's a different kind of war that people are fighting. Can you imagine things like gadgets like the phone? If we had that kind of war, it's really dangerous. Imagine in the whole world uses phones. And you can imagine if they did that to phones, if you're at war with them, this is it's like the nuclear war, the chemical war. But this is a very different. Imagine we purchased all these computers, all these gadgets that we are using, because now the world has turned into one big home. Because of the gadgets, you can call a person in America or any other place in the world, and you're like, yo, you do video calls and you're in the same house, and imagine those things if they could designate, if they had to put those things inside the gadgets they did and explode like that. Can you imagine? Everyone would be dead in their own houses. And that's kind of a very dangerous way of war. It's a new tactic. It's very, very dangerous. We, as people in this world, have to be very scared. It's good that most of the countries in Africa, we don't fight with other European countries or amongst ourselves. Yes, there's war here and there, but it's kind of a different war. It's kind of, we were used to this army war, the army going to fight like the war in Haiti, but this kind of war where it happens within the gadgets that you have, and these gadgets are just handsets like phones, like the computers, and all those things, pages and all that, walkie-talkies, that's what happened. And mostly I'm so scared for the mothers and kids. We don't care who we kill. Like now we understand in Ezbollah, like over 450 people were injured. Can you imagine? Including one Iranian ambassador who lost maybe an eye, had an injury of the eye. So you can just imagine the mother and kids, what they go through when such things happen. So I don't know. But that's their war and it's bad. And we have to look for a way of striking a peace deal. The world leaders have to come together. Like, I like what Park always said. They got money for wars, but they can't feed the poor because the mothers and the kids are suffering. All the people in those countries are suffering. I don't support war. Yes, I love Israel. And I know even some Israelis are being attacked and all that. And I don't support any kind of war. But we have to look for a way of striking a peace deal. Because you support war until it gets to your doorstep. Then war is not good. So they better strike a peace deal. That's what I would say. And I'm sorry for the people who died. It's about 20 people who died. And this is kind of a very different kind of war that we should be condemning. I don't care where it comes from. I don't care if you should look for a way of striking a peace deal. Yes, the war is not good from both sides. And both sides are suffering because one death is one too many. People are not meant to die like that, caused by other people. Peace, peace, peace. That's my deal for now. We're going to talk more about this because, man, this is a different kind of tactic that the whole world has never seen. And the reaction of these Black Americans is really a good thing because they're saying, like the Americans are also saying that you don't know war until it gets to you. And they know they have peace, they have the best army, they have the best tactics. Yes, but one day it's going to come to your doorstep and you got to condemn it and you got to look for a way of striking peace. And that's it. That's my take for now.